All right, folks, there's a whole lot of misinformation out there on social media. In fact, I was joking earlier with folks, this AI photo was put on Twitter, and Donald Trump has been putting up these AI photos, and I posted this and I said, why isn't Donald Trump putting this endorsing this AI photo of him with a black person? But again, this is not real. It's artificial intelligence. There's a whole lot of this that's going on. Shireen Mitchell is a social analyst, diversity strategist, digital strategist as well. She's here to explain this. Listen, so Shireen, how do we avoid the misinformation? Because it is stunning to me when you do claims that are made. Now with AI, you can impersonate someone's voice. You got with videos and photos, things along those lines, and people post it, they run with it without checking with, credible sources, and it creates more problems.
We're in such a different climate than we were in 2016. In 2016, most people didn't even believe disinformation and misinformation even existed on social media. Now we know it exists, but now we have AI and all these other access to changing documents, videos, language, voices, and it is changed in such a way that I think people are still not ready, because we were not believing it when we first saw it to stop it. So now we have to deal with it on the other side. So what I want to say to people, there are tools you can use to try to check that information before you share it. I still tell people, if it gets you an emotional reaction, stop, pause, and then check and look for the sources of the information coming at you. But you can do reverse lookups. Go ahead.
I am, when I see stuff, I immediately, like when I see a claim, I immediately go, okay, where's the link? Where's the backup to support that particular comment? And so I'm very, very cautious about that, and very cautious about what information I also retweet or also, repost on Instagram, on Fanbase, on the other platforms.
It's more than just pausing and looking for the source or the link. It's also at some point because of AI, we need to now have other sources. So there are other resources, free resources I'm going to mention, because I know some people can't afford to just do this, but like you can do reverse lookup on Google and other places, but there are tools like TinyEye, Be Very, and others that exist so that you can actually not only look at photos, but look at videos. Because one of the challenges about these memes, because the memes have gotten way more sophisticated, is that the sources of those memes are hard to find. So if you don't do reverse lookups in some form, you'll automatically believe it, because it will do what I said before. It's a kernel of truth in there wrapped in a whole bunch of lies, but the kernel of truth is something you would believe. It's focused on your belief, not focus on the facts. So you have to go look for the facts after you see something that basically aligns with you completely. If you see something go like, I believe that, you should question, why would you believe that, without looking for a source to prove that backup in some form or fashion for yourself, especially before you share it and have other people thinking, well, you're a part of the problem. We individually can stop some of this, but let me just be fair about this conversation. Media also plays a part in this, because sometimes they don't stop before they do their own research first. And I would love for them to use some of the tools, because they can afford the more sophisticated tools. But yes, this is one of those conversations that is going to be going on all the way up until the election.
Questions for the panel. Scott, you first.
You're right about one thing. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever that time frame was, we didn't even know what disinformation or misinformation was. And there was one time, I'm old enough to remember, we only had 3 TV stations. There was no cable or anything else. With the introduction of AI, especially in the legal field, but in every industry, it just seems scary now. What's believable? What isn't believable? It's beyond phishing. If you work in corporate America, you get all these technology tests. We're going to send you a phishing and see whether you can identify it. What does the average consumer do, though, whether they're elderly or middle-aged? What can they do to protect themselves from this on a day-to-day basis? Because you're busy, you get something, you still presumably believe it, but it can be as phony as a, I don't know, $3 bill.
I think that that's the problem. I think that even consumers feel like they're overwhelmed with all the information they do get, right? So it's not just the information that's coming to them, it's information coming from friends and family. So even in those moments, you also need to check your own friends and family first. And the reason is because you would trust them before you would trust anybody else without even checking the source. At that point, you need to check sources. You need to go back to Google searches, like do image reverse lookup. There are things that you can do really simply from your phone. The minute you get something in a text message, you can drop that image into a Google reverse lookup search and then figure out whether or not it's an accurate source or not. There are other resources, but like for the elderly especially, some of it is just really simple. Using your phone. If you're in Android, you can go to your Google Play, Google search, sorry. And if you're on Android, you can go to your iOS search and drop in there as well.
Hey, Roland, can I ask one quick question now to help all of us out there?
Go.
Can I buy insurance? Can I buy insurance to protect myself if I'm defrauded through AI or through the internet or through some false information that I wrongfully relied on?
This is unfortunate. There was actually a couple of cases where people literally sent things back and forth via text where they got their bank information shared in a way that they didn't even realize that they did it. And the banks were basically like, no, you gave the code away. So in those instances, the answer is no. But if you're paying enough attention and you're doing your due diligence, you now have to spend more time to protect yourself. The lawsuit part has to do way more down the road about defamation and other aspects of your image being used in an improper way. But to basically say that you misunderstood information, that becomes you. That doesn't become the information coming to you, just FYI.
Robert?
And so thank you so much for coming on and all the information you provide. What we're seeing now is a deceptive image persuasion, DIP, and other methods are being used by state-level actors in order to influence not just elections here in the U.S., but globally. We've seen that countries like Russia, China, Iran have entire bot farms that all they do 24 hours a day is try to influence U.S. politics and U.S. elections, the same way that America tries to do in those countries also, quite frankly. What are some resources that people can use if they, so for example, I use Ground News, where they give you a collation of all the news articles. They give it a score of who's reporting on something. They tell you if conservative outlets reporting it, liberal outlets, what nations it's being tagged on, in order to get the most up-to-date information possible. But what are some resources people can use in their everyday lives to help them filter out much of this deceptive information? Because it's no longer just some kid in their basement. These are entire countries devoting tens of millions of dollars to persuade people about this false information.
I think you said something really important about what you choose to use. But the truth is they need to look at like news feeds, like a feeder, like a news feeder, so that you can see the whole list of all the news feeds, so you can see what is real and what's not in the news feed, because what you're speaking to is very much the other part of the conversation. We know, we just heard the conversations about both campaigns being potentially hacked for their information to be shared or dealt with. We went through this in 2016. We know what this is. The problem is we have not really told America how to deal with it. And in many ways, in my opinion, we've downplayed it so much that they're going to be it's going to be a lot harder to convince people to do other things. But if you get a news feeder of that will help elders be able to see if that story is true. You should see multiple stories of that same thing that you can actually click and go to double check. But what you're using is one example. There's Feedly, there's a couple of others, but you need a news feeder so you can see it from every source.
Yolanda?
Well, so the thing that really concerns me about social media is there's AI in the social media. So if you like something, it knows what you like to hear. So, I know that they're listening to what I say, because I can talk about something. Next thing you know, things are coming up on my feed and I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm mindful of that, right? But one of the problems when you receive all of your information from social media or from your phone we've gotten away from literally talking to people. I mean, I can remember going to my grandmother's house and talking to my aunt or talking to my cousins, and we arguing back and forth about what we believe is true, and we had to defend our opinions or conclusions about things. We need to do that, right? We need to find a human to talk about it, to figure it out. For older people, I think that, or younger people specifically, I'm sorry, I misspoke. We need to talk to older people because we're not as quick to just believe stuff. But I mean, even with my son, for example, he would prefer to text than to talk. And I think that we've got to stop that. With AI, I've seen pictures. I mean, I saw the picture of Trump with a bunch of beautiful black women. And then when you zoomed in, like one woman had 6 toes and
right.
All look alike.
And so I think that we need to slow down receiving information is what I think that we need to do. And then we can figure it out. But I think that if we talk more to each other and stop doing things on the phone, I think it'll slow down the process. And with the ground news, I looked at that, right?
Okay.
So they tell you stuff, but when we're getting junk emails and this and that, it's so much information, right? And
hold on one second. I need go ahead, respond, Shireen.
Okay. So the question that you're asking is, yes, sometimes you got to pick up the phone, but the problem is you still got to make sure your elders know what sources to use to back up what they're using on their phone, because they're not going to stop using your phones. I'm not discounting what you're trying to say in reference to this, but I need to make sure that people understand we have to collectively change some of our patterns about how we get information,
right?
And the resources that we have available to actually go and look and do backups. Like, for example, let your grandma send you the image that she got. You do the lookup and send it back and say, hey,
yeah,
you know,
that was something. I can't remember. That was something my mom put in our group chat, and I was like, Mama,
yes.
I was like, Mama. I did.
Right.
I said, Mama, call me first.
Right.
No, again, I saw it and I was like, yo, this is not true. I was like, no, call me first before you put in the group chat. And so, and that's just, I mean, listen, if my brother did it, if my sister did it, if a cousin did it, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So I ain't singling my mom out. I mean, I do that. Matter of fact, a brother hit me up, on a DM. He said, hey man, I'm watching your show. Y'all got 2 L's and a period for Illinois. It's IL. I said, and I told him, I said, brother, you don't know Associated Press style. You're using a postal code. IL is the abbreviation for Illinois postal code. The AP style book is ILL period. He's like, oh damn, my bad. So again, folk don't know. And so I'm always telling people, if you see something like that, let folks know, hey, here's the truth, here's the reality.
And definitely, like I said, there are tools out there that you can use. Tiny Eye, there's a couple others, Be Verify, and those are free. But like Google, reverse lookup is actually the quickest one. But each of you, what we can do as a collective is help others know that maybe like what they're sharing is a problem, right. And like even give them the tools, share with them if they don't want to listen to you. Yep. Let them do it and learn how to do reverse lookups.
Robert,
but we're now in a whole different world where it's not just text anymore. It's pictures, it's videos, it's voiceovers. There's a whole bunch of different things happening, and we should be able to go back and forth.
Robert?
Oh, absolutely. And so just on that same point, what we're looking at on social media now is the deep fake phenomenon, where people are actually able to actually have videos of people in their own voice saying whatever they want them to say. And I think that might be one of the most difficult aspects to try to police, because my mom sent me a video of Barack Obama saying that he endorsed Donald Trump, asked me if it was real. What are some of the best practices folks can use for when something just doesn't appear to pass the smell test, of how they can find those? Because even with that, I did a reverse image search with it. I knew it was fake, but I had to actually find the evidence to prove that it was fake. And we ended up going to Reddit to find the source for where the thing came from for me to convince her that wasn't a real thing.
So video's a little bit trickier for multiple reasons. And that's why sometimes you have to break it down in different ways. It gets, photo snapshots to do reverse lookup. But when I was talking about Be Verified actually allows you to push that in as an actual video, and it will tell you whether or not it believes that it's authentic or not, in terms of whether or not it's a real, somewhere, there's a source out there for you to look at, or whether or not it feels like it's like 24% or 2% AI generated, and you can kind of move from there. But videos, I'm being very honest. When we've allowed AI to kind of run amok unchecked and legislatively, because I've pushed back on this quite a bit myself personally, we now have, it's in the wild.
Yep.
Trying to fix it and pull it back is harder now. We can't even get legislation passed about it because people think, well, AI is good. AI is good for us. It's always challenging when we try to keep saying we still need AI ethics and regulation.
Yep.
And without that, this will keep going. And if we can prove it regularly, we have evidence to say, hey, AI is going too far. We need to reel it in.
Gotcha.
We won't be able to stop it. So there are sources out there that check the videos, but the deep fakes and the videos are some of the worst and some, in my opinion, some of the most damaging moving forward in this election.
All right, Shireen Mitchell, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.